Going to be doing a gig here in the summer at this iconic venue. Would you have ever thought when you first got together 55 years ago that you'd still be performing together today?
No, quite simply, no. No, we didn't used to think we'd last till the end of the month, or even
I think that's
the end of the
right.
week.
Yeah.
That's the kind of band we were.
I was very anxious to get it all over with and go back to art school where the girls were beautiful.
How do you keep that creative spark alive, though, and still make music over 55 years?
Oh, I'm never more alive than when I'm singing. I'm not the writer of the songs Pete is, but there's something about climbing into his music for me as the kind of the portal that communicates it with people. I never feel
He's
more.
The front man.
I'm sucking up to you. Go on, get away.
The front man.
No, I never feel more alive than when I'm doing that. It's kind of it's absolute freedom. It's wonderful.
Obviously, your lineup has changed over the years, as anything would that runs for so long. But does that mean that the band is naturally evolving, the different characters, the different talents?
Yeah. I think the thing about the band that we have at the moment is we've been through periods where we've handpicked people very carefully, and we've actually employed quite a few lunatics again, because we were used to having lunatics in the band, and we've ended up now with a band that allows, I think, I was just teasing Roger about being the front man. When we go on now, it feels like Roger and me, and that we're supported by the musicians around us. They don't crowd in to try to get their moment. There's no competition. It feels as though it's honest that, the two original members that are left are Roger and I. We're battling away to kind of remain relevant and to do good work, both on stage and off, so it feels right to me what we're doing at the moment. Roger decided to have a punt at doing an orchestral thing here, and it will be interesting to see how it works in a stadium like this. I'm sure it'll be great. But we still perform very much in the same way as we used to do. It's just the two of us now, really.
Talk about the relationships working so closely in a band together. Obviously, you guys split up in the 80s and then got back together. How do you set your differences aside, working so closely with your bandmates?
We didn't ever really split up. I mean, it was a kind of a necessary departure for a few years, because we had problems to solve, musical problems in the band. But we got over it. Pete and I, it runs deep together, and I don't think that, it's been said we split up in 1982. We didn't. I just announced that this was going to be our last tour, because I was very worried about Pete at the time, because he'd just come out of a very bad alcoholic and all kinds of stuff you were on at that time, all kinds of noughties, and he cleaned himself up, and I thought, if we go back on tour and keep doing this, it's going to kill him, and I love him. I don't want that to happen. So there's all things that go on, but it doesn't mean that we've split up, and it never meant that.
I think our relationship as friends and as co-workers, it's not an intimate one. It's not, when we travel on the stage, on the road, we don't spend a lot of time together. I think what makes it interesting for us both is that this feels very much like work. It feels like what we've actually found, almost by accident, what for me was almost like a school band when we first got together, was some kind of dynamic that allowed us to find jobs. I wanted to be an artist in art, but what I found was writing songs for The Who. There could be no better job. You know what I'm saying? I had an audience, I had a band to write for, I had a great voice in Roger, and so it's always felt to me like work. It feels like we're co-workers, and when we get together, there's also that thing about carrying the history that we do. It kind of imposes and interpolates a bit of magic. Nothing to do with us. When we went to play in South America the first time a couple of years back, what was interesting about that, and Mexico, was that the kids sort of knew us through YouTube videos of us when we were much, much younger. You know, they were kind of going, ah, but they weren't screaming at us. They were sort of screaming at who we used to be. They were screaming at who we used to be.
Times have changed so much, haven't they? The way people consume music,
Yes,
like you're saying,
yeah.
YouTube, it's all different.
And the chemistry between us, musically when we're on stage, it's telepathic. It's kind of there's something in the air that is untangible. You can't put a finger on it as such, but I know it's there between Pete and I. We can turn on a dime without even looking at each other, and it just happens. It's magical.
Yeah.
Like a married couple.
Ooh, I wouldn't go that far.
You guys, of course, are making new music, but do the fans always want the old stuff? Will you ever get sick of singing My Generation?
My generation, maybe.
I don't mind my generation because you can always get pissed off with someone in the audience to sing it to. The only song I've ever got a little bit bored with, and I don't know why, is Won't Get Fooled Again. And that's being really honest. All the others I love, and I try and take myself back to the first day I ever sung the song in the first place. Every time I sing them, but for some reason when I get to Won't Get Fooled Again, I kind of drift off. And maybe it's because we playing it at the end of the show, and I'm thinking, God, it won't be long now. I'm being in a hot bath with a cup of cocoa. And a water bottle tucked up with me teddy.
I'm sure that's not the case. Obviously, music has changed so much, but rock music right now, who is the Who of this generation? Do you think you've got artists of your calibre now?
There are a lot of artists who the difficulty with all music, not just rock music, is that so much has been done. You know, when we started in sort of 63, 64, you know, there were a lot of bands around and a lot of bands who've lasted, you know, from the Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and, you know, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix. There were some fantastic people around, but that's just a handful. I mean, today there are hundreds of thousands of artists producing music and getting it out. And I think what actually happens is it's very, very difficult to come up with anything that's new, novel, has a different feeling, different sound, different slant to it, different chords. You know, you've got this thing with Ed Sheeran being accused of copying Marvin Gaye. You know, it's, you know, because there's only so many notes and so many chords that you can use in pop music. You know, it's true even of classical music where, you know, orchestral composers from the 17th and 18th century used to accuse each other of stealing the music, you know, because it all sounded the same back then, actually. So I think it's very difficult for a rock band to come up with anything brand new. But yeah, 1975, they're a great band. I love them. You know?
The other thing is also is the algorithms, which are running the kind of streaming sites, and it's so hard for music as such because the algorithms, they'll choose what's on Spotify or any of those sites by the length of the intro, and if the intro's too long, it goes in the bin.
Actually,
you know,
they choose the music on the basis of what you listened to last time. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily get to hear new stuff. That's what I don't like about it.
Pete loves to write long intros, and I love long intros because it gives the singer a break, so he can have a fag.
Now we know why.
No, but the more and more and more, you know, bots and algorithms are interfering with the music business, and it's kind of tragic in a way.
Me Too movement in the last year has totally changed the face of acting. Do you think rock music's going to have its moment?
Yep.
It's coming, Day of Reckoning?
Yep.
Is it?
One very, 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 can I do one really quick one?
I do think the Me Too movement has been fantastic, and I don't know that everybody agrees with me, but I think it's been fantastic. I don't know that it's been fantastic, if you like, for the actresses that have been involved, because they're up there in the forefront. They have to, you know, they have to fight their battles. But I do think that, you know, it has been a long time coming. You know, I've been involved for years in helping people that have suffered, particularly women, but men too have suffered as young people from bullying, from beatings, from sexual abuse, from all kinds of things. You know, and people get deeply, deeply, deeply damaged and scarred by it. And I know some actresses, I won't mention their names because they're very, very close to me, that have been through this. You know, and Harvey Weinstein was a friend of mine. You know, I was involved with him. I did the music for his first film, and he gave my daughter her first job in the movie industry. You know, she was a runner, but, you know, not an actress. So it was a real shock to see what happened, and it was him that started it. I think it's a good thing. God knows what's going to happen to him, but it's a good thing.
You've seen it from the inside. Finally, very last one. Brexit looks like it's getting further and further away. Is it going to be bad for British rock music?
No, we don't do the rock business. What's it got to do with rock business?
Are they going to tour in Europe?
Oh dear, as if we didn't tour in Europe before the f***ing EU. If you want to sign up to be ruled by a f***ing mafia, you do it.
Just a quick one.
Like being governed by FIFA.